Gentlemen, I'm Angie Starbuck, and I am a fellow Ohioan. I'm right down the road in Columbus. So thank you both for being here. I appreciate it. I wanted to address my question to Mr. Malott and kind of talk about the cost comparison between digital systems and live court reporters. If you can kind of address that, and if you feel that when electronic systems are introduced, and I think the judge kind of alluded to this earlier, are you made aware of the true cost of operating that could be included in that? Hiring a monitor, outsourcing transcripts, ongoing maintenance and upgrades, things like, are those things considered in the purchasing decision?
Yeah, I'm becoming increasingly frustrated with the technology on the recordings. They don't tell you that when they come out to sell you the system. Electronics become obsolete so quick. So you install a system today, it's obsolete by the end of the year, and then you have to you've got your maintenance agreements. Well, they ding you a little bit there starting off, but by the time the equipment is 3 years old, you've already paid for it again in the maintenance agreements. And they still just aren't completely reliable. You don't get any kind of guarantee or warranty on the stuff that if something happens to it, because when we moved over to Judge Tornicio's courtroom, the recorders that we had in the other courtroom, they stay with the court, and so they migrated them over to the other courtroom. Well, one of the recorders died, and we lost all the files. They still haven't recovered those yet. For some reason, they didn't make it to our terabytes on the county system. So if it weren't for the fact that we had a live court reporter during when most of those recordings were made, the court could be in a world of hurt. It hasn't presented it as a problem yet. As the judge alluded to earlier, if you look at the startup cost, what they say their system costs, and you're looking at the salary of a stenographer and benefits and everything, yeah, it looks like you're going to get a better. I can't really say it's a better deal for the money, because it's not. You're going to be penny wise and pound foolish, because you're looking at the immediate costs and not the overall costs. You got to make sure somebody's got that record together to get it to an appeals court on appeals. You got to have somebody transcribe it. You got to have somebody monitor. That was my job as a bailiff. I had to monitor the electronic recording. Well, as a bailiff, I sometimes had to leave my station there, and so I really couldn't be monitoring the record that well. And that was a real pain, because the microphones, we have an old courthouse. Maybe in a clinical type setting, the microphones would be okay, but we have an older courthouse, so the acoustics are more widely spread, and so it's harder to hear somebody if they get too far away from those microphones. We even invested in wireless microphones, which helped the court reporter quite a bit when they worked correctly. She didn't have to stop the proceedings as much, but you get away from those, and then you do have blind spots on the recordings, and so it's really hard to get a good record. The court reporters have always been able to, stop the proceedings, say I didn't hear that, or remind, because we identify our jurors by numbers and not by names, and so even though I told them during my orientation, the judge would tell them when he came on the bench, and we'd remind them a couple of times to always announce their juror number before they ever gave an answer during voir dire. Now they still would forget, and the court reporters say juror number, and so because you have to have an accurate record, and these day and times, you don't really want names of jurors being thrown around the court reporter, for nefarious reasons. So doing it by number, and you don't have that with mechanical systems. There's nobody going to stop them and say, what was your number?
I know too, Ron, this is Sue, when we were setting up our courtroom, when we started bringing juries back into the courtroom, the judge wanted to remodel some and change some things around. And if I recall, it was going to be a huge cost to just move the electronic equipment. So there are those anticipated costs too.
Well, another thing too, during this pandemic, we still had trials. We probably were one of the busier courts in the state of Ohio during the pandemic, and we would do voir dire off-site, and so we didn't have any recording system out there. I mean, it would have really limited us had we not had a court reporter.
That's a very good point.